Well, as you can tell, it's raining out. So we're trying to kind of work around. This is my setup for getting inside the toter right now. Getting ready to start laying the perimeter around and get the flooring in, the other supports. Then we'll get the insulation on it, and then we'll lay another layer of 3/4 inch plywood. This is 3/4 inch tongue and groove on the bottom right now, and there'll be another 3/4 inch tongue and groove on the top. That should make this a really good solid floor for going down the road, and then we'll start in on framing the walls for putting in our windows and that kind of thing. There's our heater. It's one of those little infrared heaters. They do a pretty good job. I think it's 1500 watts or something like that. It'd be more than enough to heat this inside, especially once I start insulating and getting things in here. All right. I got I guess you'd call them floor joists on top of the other floor. I got the body lifted up a little bit on both sides, jacked up, so you're going to see, you know, a daylight on all the way around it until we get it back down on the ground. The joists are all cut, perimeter's all cut. I just got to screw everything together now and get the insulation put in, get everything glued up, and then we can start putting the plywood down. Alright, I wanted to give you an idea of the materials that we're using to put this floor down. First off, I used a lot of liquid nails. It's a heavy-duty construction adhesive, and we use a plated exterior screw. It's got a plating, it's rust resistant, it's actually a decking screw. So by using it inside or wherever, I always use a plated decking screw. These are 3-inch, which means that I can put together two 2x4s and have full screw coverage. These are 1 5/8" plated decking screw. I use these to put down the actual flooring, the plywood. And this here is the insulation that I'm using. Comes in different lengths, widths. This is primarily used in roofing. It's used on top of roofs, and then they put a waterproof membrane on top of that. It's got this fiber coating on both sides, and this is 1.5 inches thick. It has an R value of 9 for the floor and for the walls. Majority of trailers and RVs are made with 1.5 inch walls and floor. Most of them have fiberglass batting insulation. I'd have to look it up, but it's not a very big R value. And what happens over time with fiberglass batting is that it sinks. There's no real super good way of putting it in the walls so that it will stay. I have pulled apart numerous RVs now, and I find the fiberglass batting has sunk down, and sometimes half the wall is exposed inside, which has very little R value at all. So I'm using this hard fiberglass or hard polyiso insulation. This will be glued, it becomes a structural part of the walls and floor and ceiling. The ceiling, I'm going to be using 2-inch polyiso. So I don't have the figure on top of my head. I think it's 12 R value for the ceiling. So by the time this is all boxed in and insulated, I also use a foam insulation that goes in between any cracks and crevices and stuff like that. So just a quick item list of how I put these together. All right, if you want to know how we cut this, the way I cut this is with one of these. This is a Sawzall blade that's in one of these handheld attachments, and you can score this and then break it like you would some of the styrofoam and stuff, but it doesn't break clean, at least in my experience. So I just saw it, and it only takes just a second to saw it, and then that's the way we do it. All right, I will show you how I mark it and measure it and do this real quick. But that's all insulation. I just leave it right there and I just seal it right up with it. And take my liquid nails. So I have to kind of move things around a little bit. And of course I ran out of liquid nails. I got to get another tube. All right, we got another tube. I should own stock in this company. I have used so much of it in the course of building these. This is a nice feature on these old caulk guns. Just poke a hole, and you're ready to roll. inside. But because it's snowing and 30-some degrees outside, we will put up with this. Not a problem. Alright, so that's basically how we put that down. And got 3 more sections to go on the floor. Then we'll start putting down the plywood. Okay, this is the machine, or the tool that I use for caulking, or foaming I should say, all the cracks and crevices that I haven't filled. So this is how we make everything extremely airtight. Just basically look and see if there's any cracks in our insulation. And then when the gun don't work, we try something else. Okay, well, since my camera decided to quit on me, I'm going to just show you the end result of the foaming between the cracks. This is what it looks like when it expands. And we just go through, there's little cracks where it doesn't quite meet up or match properly. And that tightens things up too. It's not a super expanding foam that I use. It is just it's a high density foam, just to fill cracks, not to fill huge gaps. Okay, so we got that ready. It's not, well, actually it is. It's ready to trim. We'll take the same tool that we used to cut the foam insulation, the 4x8 sheets. We'll use that same tool and trim this off level, and we'll be ready to put in our plywood. Okay.